Did I ever tell you how lucky you are? By Dr. Suess. When I was quite young and quite small for my size, I met an old man in the desert of Dries, and he sang me a song I will never forget. At least, well, I haven't forgotten it yet. I sat in a terribly prickly place, but he sat in a terribly prickly place, but he sang with a sunny sweet smile on his face. When you think there is bad, when you feel sour and blue, when you start to get mad, you should do what I do. Just tell yourself, Ducky, you're really quite lucky. Some people are much more, or ever so much more, or much more unlucky than you. Be glad you don't work on the Bunglebunk Bridge that they're building across Boober Bay at Bum Ridge. It's a troublesome world, and all those people who are in it are troubled with troubles almost every minute. You ought to be thankful a whole heaping lot for the places and people you're lucky you're not. Look at this huge bridge that they're building. It's so complicated. Just suppose, for example, you lived in Gazette and got caught in all that traffic on Zate Highway 8. So many different animals are coming through at the same time. Or suppose, just for instance, you lived in Gazere with your bedroom up here and your bathroom up there. All the houses are in different spots. Just suppose you are poor Herbie Hart, who has taken his thorndimbulator apart. He never will get it together, I'm sure. He never will know if the gick or the goor fits into the scrux or the snux or the snore. Yes, Ducky, you've lucky you're not Herbie Hart, who has taken his thorndimbulator apart. So many parts in this machine. Think they work you too hard? Think of poor Ollie Sard. He has to mow grass in his uncle's backyard, and it's quick-growing grass, and it grows as he mows it. The faster he mows it, the faster he grows it, and all that his stingy old uncle will pay for his shoving that mower around in that hay is the piffless pay of 2 duklas a day, and Ollie can't live on such piffless pay. So he has to paint flagpoles on Sundays in Grooves. How lucky you are you don't live in his shoes. Look, there he is painting flagpoles so high up. Whoa. And poor Mr. Bix. Every morning at 6. Poor Mr. Biggs has his boyfriend to fix. It doesn't seem fair, it just doesn't seem right, but his boyfriend just seems to go schlumpy every night. It slumps in a heap, sadly needing repair. Big figures it's due to the local night air. Bix figures it's due to the local night air. It takes him all day to unschlump it, and then the night air comes back and it slumps once again. So don't you feel blue. Don't get down in the dumps. You're lucky you don't have a boyfriend that schlumps. And while we're at it, consider the schlots. The crumple-horned, web-footed, green-bearded schlots, whose tail is entailed with unsolvable knots. If he isn't muchly more worse off than you, I'll eat my umbrella. That's just what I'll do. Look at all the knots in his tail. So sad. And you're lucky indeed you don't ride on a camel. To ride on a camel, you sit on a whammel. A whammel, you know, is sort of a saddle held on by a button that's known as a faddle. And boy, your old whammel faddle gets loose. I'm telling you, Ducky, you're gone like a goose. So scary on top of that camel's whammel. And poor Mr. Potter, T-crosser I daughter, he has to cross T's and he has to dot I's in an INT factory out in Van Nuys. And no jobs people work at. Oh, west near Hotch. There's a Hotch bee watcher, and his job is to watch. Is to keep both his eyes on the lazy town bee. A bee that is watched will work harder, you see. Well, he watched, and in spite of his watch, the bee didn't work any harder, not much. So then somebody said, our old bee watching man just isn't bee watching as hard as he can. He ought to be watched by another Hotcher. The thing that we need is a bee watcher. Well, the bee watcher watched the bee watcher. He didn't watch well, so another Hotcher had to come in as watcher. And today all the Hotchers who live in Hotch are watching on watching the watcher who is watching that bee. You're not a Hotcher. You're lucky, you see. Everybody's watching everybody else till the bee. And how fortunate you are, not Professor DeBreeze, who has spent the past 32 years, if you please, trying to teach Irish ducks how to read Javanese. Whoa, that's a hard thing to learn to read. And think of the poor puffling Pugelhorn players who have to parade down the Pugelhorn stairs every morning to wake up the Prince of Puboken. It's awful how often those Pugels get broken. And oh, just suppose you were poor Harry Haddo. Try as you will, he can't make any shadow. He doesn't have a shadow. He thinks that perhaps something's wrong with his giz. And I think that, by golly, there probably is. And the poor brothers Baru, suppose your hair grew like theirs happened to do. You think you're unlucky, I'm telling you, ducky. Some people are ever so muchly more unlucky than you. Everybody's hair is going into the other person's beard. And suppose that you lived in the forest in France, where the average young person just hasn't a chance to escape from the perilous pants-eating plants. They're eating his pants! But your pants are safe. You're a fortunate guy. You ought to be shouting, how lucky am I? And speaking of plants, you should be greatly gladish you're not Farmer Flackenberg's 17th radish. And you're so lucky you're not Gucky Gown, who lives by himself 19 miles out of town. In the ruins of Ronk is rather run down. And you're so lucky that you're not a left sock left behind by mistake in the caverns of Croc. There's a sock right there left behind. Thank goodness for all the things you are not. Thank goodness you're not something someone forgot and left all alone in some punkerish place like a rusty tin coat hanger hanging in space. That's why I say, ducky, don't grumble, don't stew. Some critters are much, oh ever so much more unlucky than you.